Hi there again. I'm Dr. Bill Wyatt with the American Orthodontic Society, and I'm going to try to talk a little bit more about this intruding arch wire that I came up with about 45 years ago. It was in 1971, I think, when we just accidentally found out what they can do, and we've been using them ever since. We've improved on them, and I'm going to show you how to make them, and I hope you can get you some wire and some good pliers and stuff, and make some for yourself. Now this is just the regular one. There's a little more complicated one called the intruding wire with reverse torque in the anterior teeth, which I'm going to do another little video on that one by itself. So we, for years, made our own arch wires. We would buy straight pieces of arch wire and cut them half in two. They were 14 inches long, and it'd be about 7, and that would be plenty of wire to make an arch wire. And then we took the wire and put arch form in it. We used an arch torquing turret. You can still use these. These are excellent. We used 018 brackets, and the slots in this are their 018 or 18 thousandths, or you can run wires smaller than that, like a 017, something. You can do it too, and you can put torque in these wires or just bend them with various torques. I think they're lifted over here, but they're kind of glared and you can't see them in that picture there. Now you slip the wire in there, and this thing bar slides under, and you twist it around, and you can come out with an arch. It's the first deal is 0, next 7, 10, 13, and 16 degrees torque you can put in the wire. You have to bend it in the wire. As you bend the wire, it'll go in. You can't take a preformed arch and put it in there and put this torque in it. You'd have to turn it upside down and reverse it to get it to go in. But we put torque in our wires, but these intruding wires didn't need any, so we just ran it off at the 0 torque level right here. Now if I take this torqued arch wire, or this wire that's not torqued actually, and I'm going to use a wax pattern to measure how I want to make the wire. And you take the wax pattern, and we've used this beeswax for years. I hope this company is still in business, but it's a good company, and this is pure beeswax. Think how much that little bee, those thousands of bees had to work to build one piece of that. You can take one of these pieces, just cut it half in two, and you can make an arch pattern out of either side of that. Here is half of one of those pieces of beeswax, and it is dead soft. And when you press it into the teeth, and now you can't see it very good, but there's a tapadont underneath here, and if you press it down very much, you'll see the brackets in the arch wire, and you ease this wax pattern off without flattening it out at all, and you can make darn near any arch wire you can come up with right off of this pattern, and it'll fit back in the mouth. If you don't know how to do that, that's a very valuable thing. I think we have a video on making wax patterns you can find in there. Now we've pressed it down, and you kind of see the bracket imprint in the wax, and you measure what you want to do on your wax pattern. Always mark the center of your arch wire, and the center of your wax pattern will be there. You put it in the same place, so your mark where you're going to put the bend of the circle is in the correct place each time in there. So here we marked where we want we're going to put the intruding wire loop right between the bicuspid and the molar. So we mark right behind the bicuspid where we want this loop to be on each side. The wire goes out like that. Now as you bend the wire, you use up the tail end of it, see, and then you've got extra wire back here, and you clip that off when you get through with it. If you've learned how to bend wire, this is there's so many guys doing orthodontics don't know a blooming thing, it seems like, about bending arch wire. They think you can go buy all these preformed arches and plug them in and come out with good orthodontics. I don't care if you're using straight wire appliance and all kind of mess like that. You still have to bend the arch wire if you're going to do really good bang up orthodontics. You cannot do it without learning how to bend the wire. So just knuckle under and start learning how to bend this blooming stuff. Now here you can see it better on this picture. You got through. You can see the brackets real good on here. Now it's spread out a little bit. I might move the arch wire in here, and I'll mark where I want to put these bends in this wire. And you really ought to have the center of mark on your arch wire wherever it comes out. I got it in the wrong place there, but and then you put it back there if you're bending several loops or whatever in the wire. You go back to that same spot, and all the time you use up the wire back here when you're doing that. And you get you some pliers and sit down where it's quiet and just learn how to bend it. I'm going to show you pretty good, but nothing like learning it yourself. I use a little wax pencil here that you screw this wax thing out to put a mark on the wire. You can get any kind of little marker you want to that you can mark the wire, but I've put the mark on it there just to kind of illustrate. Now I've marked this up and I saved it. I should have erased it. But here is the mark, you see, where we want this loop to be. And I'll show it on another view here. It'll be plainer, and I'll show you where we're going to bend it. Now get you a darn good loop bending plier. Now this is I think a tweed loop bending plier. It has a little stem in it here, and a little lock nut that you screw down to tighten it up, and you get a couple of these when you buy the plier. They ought to give you two. They charge you enough for the plier, but that's the best one there is. The one with just this built in or made into the metal like this, it's not as good. Once it bends, if you break this, you've got a second one. But those are tough little dudes, I tell you. They can bend a pretty good wire, but you don't try to take any big stuff and do that with it. Now, here it is up closer. This is that little pin that goes in here, and you have a lock nut that screws it down, and it's straight across here, but it goes out and drops down and drops down, in here. I usually bend these loops on this second rung of that little rod that goes in here. Now, it's better to make these out of rectangular wire, but I use a 17-25 wire to make all of these because they stay in the place better. You can make them out of round wire, but if you activate a round wire more than, say, 30 degrees or so, it'll tend to roll in the arch, and then if it rolls over, it's poking, it's running the tooth in or out. But that doesn't happen with a rectangular wire, so we recommend you use rectangular wire in making these. All right, you put the wire in there and you've got your mark on it here, and there's a little trough like there, and you press it down and take your finger and bend the wire up, straight up and down like that. From that, we're going to show you how to make this loop. Now, here we look at it from another angle, but we take this, you see how this is pressed into the finger right here? It's bending this wire around that, and it'll bend it straight up and down. You're going to make this come around here and go straight up like that. Okay. Now, when it's straight up here, we're going to come over with it, and you have to decide whether you go on this side of the wire or on this side of the wire. It usually doesn't make much difference, but you can put it wherever you want, whichever side that we want to do that. So anyway, we go around one side of it, and you come out with it like this. Now, you can bend this thing all the way around and come over here. And now you're going to have to bend the wire back in that direction. I'll show you here just a little bit. Okay, now when you've done this, now you've bent it here. This is where you can put your mark. So the bicuspid is right here. The bicuspid bracket would be over here. This goes around in a circle and heads up over here. Now you roll your plier around and put this part over here, and now we're going to bend this over that part. You have to do it a little bit, but you'll get where you can make these loops in just a jiffy. I have several of the ladies in the office that are real skilled, and they can bend these things while you're thinking about it. You know, they've done thousands of them. Now we roll it around and bend it out this direction. Now the wire is in two planes. This one's over here. This one is over here. See, if you want to hold that tight in there and bend this wire here and bend this one over here, you can put that loop in the same plane as the arch wire is in. Maybe that's kind of confusing to you, but let me see if I can show it. Now here is the wire just laid out. Now if you put your plier into the hole here and then bend one of these one way and one the other way, you can put the wire in a line and have this loop. In other words, you come along here and your loop will be like this, and yet your wire will be coming that way, be in the same plane. Okay, now we've made it that far, and we're gonna, looks like we have kind of bent it a little bit that way because these are almost in the same plane. They're not completely in the same plane yet. Now we make one in both sides, you see, and the wire looks like it's pretty much in the same plane. It doesn't have to be in the same plane, but they just make them look neat. And that's a small intruding loop there. Now take that, after I've done that, I cut off the end of it. I don't need this back here. Now this is going to go in the molar tube, or the auxiliary tube. On the first molar, we have a double tube. We have a slot for the arch wire, and then we have a tube out here for the intruding wire. We put lip bumpers, and we do all sorts of things with this auxiliary tube. So it's good to put these double tube brackets. I'll show you that on the top of that in just a minute here. Now we sharpen those up a little, and you can take a curved half plier or a what they call it's not a 90-degree half, but you can get one of those. They're real good, and you can take this, hold that plier right here with this, reach in the mouth. You see the mirror, pull that back, and insert that into this tube, and then you go around and insert the other side. It's going to have this activation in it, so it's going to be going down like that, going around the corner in here. Now, the beauty about this intruding wire, or leveling your arches, or using two wires to do it, it's so much faster than the other way of just doing it one wire. You got to get this lined up to get a stiff enough wire to make it do anything. You can put those little wires that do like that, but then you stick this down and take this down, and it's kind of round. This keeps this level, and then it takes the top, the front part, brings it down, levels it out. It's far better to bend these intruding wires. Now this little flexible wire that we put in, this has happened to be a little wildcat wire we used years ago before we had tie wire. You can take an 016 tie and you can put these expansion loops in it, you see. Now this expansion loop would be say you're wanting to expand the lower arch wire. As you do this, you put this in, and now you push it back and you put some activation on this loop right here to push forward on this and push backward on this right here, which tends to expand your arch wire at the same time. This little flexible wire you put on to start with, and then you put this intruding wire on. All of this goes on the day you start, see? In other words, you start leveling it immediately. You don't screw around and wait for weeks and weeks before you start doing the leveling of the arch. This little flexible wire right here rotates teeth. Every tooth, if you got your bracket on it right, it'll tend to rotate that tooth. If this tooth is lingual and this one's buccal, it'll tend to line them up buccal lingually. If one of them is high and one of them is low, it'll tend to line them up in that manner too. It will actually, if you expand the arch, you're going to tend to torque your anterior teeth. It does that. It does a whole host of things in here for you while you're leveling the arch yourself. And even the expansion of the arch tends to level it some. So this little flexible wire you got in here is working for you all the time, and this one is working for you too all the time. Now I made this loop especially like this because you want to activate these loops. You want to tighten the loop to activate it, you see. Now when I pull this up, it squeezes that loop together tighter, and the loop wants to undo. See, it wants to undo, so it works for you trying to loosen it. Now I can go into a group of dentists, and I can have some brilliant dentists in there. They're smarter than I am. I know a lot of them are, and I'll give them some wire and tell them what to bend and show them how to bend it, and about half of them will bend that loop like this. They'll just come right around like that, come around over here and just bend that loop like that. Now if you activate this loop, it loosens the wire, loosens the loop, and you're trying to get the loop to work for you by tightening itself up. It just doesn't work near as efficient as if you bend it. You come down like this, come around, and you bend it over here, and come down and go around, and come back down here. Now when I pick this up, they say this is on the lower arch, you say. Actually, it would be way down here. When I pick it up, it squeezes that loop together. Can't you see that? Tightens up, so the loop wants to loosen back up, so it pushes these teeth down with a lot more force than if you just went out there and went around like that, you see. Now if you were down here, you raise it up, then you just loosen it up, and the loop wants to be loose. It doesn't want to be tight, and it just doesn't work for you anywhere like as good as this does here. So take it and try to learn how to do that with it. And I'll skip that over. I hope that erased all that. All right, we push that wire in there and go around and get the other side, and you insert it in. And now you've got this intruding wire in the mouth, and when you bring it up here and tie it to these teeth, it's going to be pushing down with a pretty good force. All the force to intrude these teeth out here will tend to push these up. Now, if you do not want these to come up, you put some kind of a little pad on here, 2 or 3 millimeters thick or something, and they're chewing on that all the time, and you'll be able to intrude these teeth, and these teeth won't move up. So you won't tend to open the vertical dimension of the face if you use these. You you just put this on the bottom, and it'll work on the top and the bottom. So I hope you see that and learn how to do it. This is an efficient way to level a bite, the quickest way I know of. And if I knew another way, I would certainly be happy to tell you and use it myself. And there it is on the front. Now we're going to raise it up and tie it. See, these teeth are up like this. We just raise it up and tie it on the highest thing. See, now the way you tie it is important too. So I come in here, let me erase that, and I will show you. We get up close with our tying this together right here. I put a piece of 010 ligature wire over it. And you've got one wire and the other wire, and you run this wire over them and twist it out here. It leaves the wire, 2 wires in this loop, and this loop is kind of like a oval. Now you twist it down and you cut it off when you get through twisting it. Now you come in and we're gonna cut those. There it's twisted up pretty tight, but you see the 2 wires in it. Now as we go to push, we cut this off, we push this down, it tends to pull one wire up on top of the other wire, and then when you get it a certain point in there, this twisted part will go bing and just go right back, and it'll be right back here, and you can't hardly get it out of there. If you just try to bend it down, it leaves a big old rough spot there to irritate the lip, and they get it caught under their toothbrush, pull it out, and then you got a real mess. This thing will eat the lip up, you see. So learn how to do that little trick right there. That's worth your time to listen to this moving thing. Now see, we cut these off, we tie it between the centrals, between the cuspid and the lateral over here, and we're going to push these back, and it'll show it over here, but I've got a little mark on it so it affects it a little bit. So here we've cut them off. Now we take an instrument and go in here, and you see as I shove this down, this thing is kind of oval shaped, and one wire comes up on top of the other one, and then when it gets back here, it will just kind of jump backwards, and you can't hardly get it out of there. Their toothbrush or nothing else is going to pull it out of there. You got to cut it off to get it back. So this twisted wire will be going back in that direction. It doesn't get in anybody's way, and it's got just a single wire over the other, which so it doesn't irritate the heck out of the lip. But if you try to twist it, push it down, bend it down, it'll get back out and it'll irritate the heck out of the person. So learn how to do that. Now I pushed it back there, and the wire went bounce back. Now here's the twisted part, is back here, and you can't hardly get it out here in front of this anymore. It'll stay there, and it's just that one little wire crossing that arch wire there. That's all. all there is to it. Okay, now let's see. I'm going to erase all of that. Alright, sorry. Alright, here's the other side of the mouth, and we've got it activated so it tightens this loop up, you see, and it's pushing down with a pretty darn good force, and it'll level this arch while you're thinking about it. You got to get something pretty heavy in there to do it, and those little curly wires, they help, and that's what a lot of people use them because heck, you don't have to do anything to them, but then they shove the molars down while they shove the anterior down, and they're not very quick either. So this thing works faster than those do. And here's the other side, both of the upper and the lower, and it'll push this down, push this up, and it tends to push this tooth down as you go up here. This is exactly the same force going up here as it is going down over here. Normally it'd move this tooth a lot more than it moves these, but the person is chewing on this. And you put those pads if you don't want it to open. But if you want it to give them some vertical dimension, you put your block out here in the front, and these are not touching back here. And boy, they'll exfoliate quite a bit. And whatever you do, say if you open this about 2 or 3 millimeters, here it may be 6 or 7 millimeters out here in the front part of your mouth. It's kind of like that, you see. Okay, let me see what else we got. All right, there it is hooked up. Now, I didn't say one thing. You can come in and put your elastics over the top of these if you've got some tough elastics. But if that thing breaks that elastic, it's going to come loose. So it's safer to put the blooming thing on and put the ligature wire on it and twist it up like that. But you can do either one you want to. Alright, that's the regular intruding arch wire, and I'm not pulling your leg. You can level a bite with this and save yourself a bit 2 to 3 months time in treating a case that's deep, and they can come out here with all these fancy brackets and claim it reduces the time of treatment and all. That's a bunch of bull to me. I can treat them just as fast with any bracket, and I can treat them a lot faster using this type of deal here. So I hope you learn how to use them and learn how to bend that. There's a close-up. This is a round wire. That's a rectangular wire. This wire, if you activate it very much, can roll and push out one way or the other and push the tooth out of line. So if you're just going to activate a little bit, this one works okay. But if you're going to really get with it, you really need to use a rectangular wire that fits pretty close in your tube up here. And we use triple tubes up above and double tubes down below when we're treating like that, and that's a good thing to use. That's the front end of it. This is a little close-up of it. Okay, and this is, I'm going to cover that next time on putting torque, reverse torque in the anterior teeth. So this concludes just your regular intruding arch. I'll be happy if you learn how to do that. It really works good. The torquing one, sometimes you have to use that. I'm going to close out now. Hope you get to use it. Thank you for watching.